I'm Mike Elliott. I'm the Senior Vice President for Financial Inclusion for Mastercard Labs. And I also run the Nairobi Innovation Lab here in Nairobi called the Mastercard Lab for Financial Inclusion. In the Innovation Lab here in Nairobi, we spend a lot of time creating kind of the next set of innovations. We spend a lot of time thinking about where do we work, what are the sectors that we think are ripe for innovation. Places like agriculture, micro-retail, education, these are all areas that we're working in. And as we go through this process of kind of looking at areas that need innovation, what are the problems we need to solve, what are the ideas to solve them, what we find is that some of those ideas to solve solutions are really good fits for MasterCard and some are not. So one of the things we do a lot at MasterCard is engage the startup and the entrepreneurial ecosystem around some of these ideas that we're seeing that we think are better fit for someone else. So that's one way to do it. We think a lot about taking ideas that we've generated within MasterCard and kind of seeding them in the startup community. Another way we think about it as well is we have a program called StartPath within MasterCard. It's part of our labs organization. And StartPath is specifically around engaging startups, engaging this next set of businesses in this payment ecosystem and the ecosystems adjacent to it. And what StartPath does is it finds these startups, and these are kind of early stage, kind of mid-stage startups, and they provide them guidance, they provide them support, and they actually bring them on the journey of scale with us as MasterCard. I think that's really important as well. The moment you make a payment, the moment it kind of goes through the banking network, from the issuer to the acquirer, and so on, that is kind of who we are. What I think is really interesting from the safety and security part is when we talk about this market and we think about it in a slightly different lens, and we say, how do we make payments safer from almost a physical security perspective for a micro merchant or a consumer, right? If I'm going to go to Kibera and I've got a shop there and I'm a mama mboga and I'm selling vegetables in Kibera, right? And I'm collecting cash all day long. There's a danger, right, to my business that if I get robbed, I could lose an entire day's worth of income. And so if you can digitize payments in these sort of ecosystems, in these sort of places, you can bring like a very physical, real sort of safety to them because I'm not carrying cash in my little shop. So we think about it in both ways. We think about it from a network standpoint, kind of an infrastructure standpoint, and that's kind of things we've been doing for the entire existence of MasterCard. But we also think about it from a consumer standpoint and how do we take cash out of pockets, out of tills, and make them physically more safe when they're doing their shopping or doing their business. To be honest, innovation only happens when all those groups are working together. I think it's crucial for that whole ecosystem, whether it's the banks or MasterCard or some of these mega platforms like Facebook and the SMEs themselves. I think it's only when you bring them all in the room, you understand how they work today, what are their pain points today, and how do they want things to look, only then can you do innovations. So if I look at some of the work that we've done in agriculture, right, we're doing this in Tanzania, helping connect smallholder farmers to their off-takers via a platform called Mastercard Farmer Network. When we created Mastercard Farmer Network, we didn't say, look, we need to create a farmer platform. Let's think in a room about what we want to create. Great, here's the platform, let's roll it out. It's instead, we went and talked to a lot of different people. We talked to our banks. So we're working with NMB Bank, National Microfinance Bank in Tanzania. How do you guys think about agriculture? What are the pain points you guys see when you talk to the agribusinesses that you bank? We go and talk to the agribusinesses, right? We go talk to Mount Meru and Arusha. They do a lot of buying across a variety of value chains. What are the pain points you guys see? And how do you interface today with the farmers? We talked to NGOs. We talked to an NGO called Producers Direct. It used to be called Cafe Direct Producers Foundation. Today it's called Producers Direct. And they support smallholder farmers and smallholder farmer organizations, producer organizations. And they really understand agriculture at a very deep level. And so we talk to them and say, what are the challenges you guys see? And then finally, we talk to smallholder farmers themselves. And when you do that, when you get all those people together in the room and you're making sure that everyone is finding value in the solution and everyone is getting kind of a pain point solved, that's when you get really powerful innovations at an ecosystem level that can change how things work and be transformative. in the MSME space, which is one of the most strategic spaces for Mastercard right now. How do we engage the MSME network kind of in a broader ecosystem to their suppliers down to their customers? We're engaging with DTB Bank. So Diamond Trust Bank and us are thinking about how we roll this out to the set of customers that DTB has. We're doing this a bit in Western and a bit in Nairobi with them. We're working with Musoni as an MFI here in Kenya, and we're doing loans for micro retailers in Kawangware, in Kibera, and Kariobangi. So helping to think about how one of the great things about platforms for micro retailers is they create data, right? They create data about what these micro retailers sell to their customers, and we use our MPQR platform to track that. And they keep data about what they buy from their suppliers, and we use KeoNect to do that. So we've got a good 360 view of these micro retailers. When you expose that data to a lender like a Musoni can look at that data and leverage it to decide, this is a good customer for me. This is someone I want to lend to. They can do that in a much more automated way than they can today because they're leveraging kind of real digital transactional data. And so with Musoni, we're actually providing loans now in these informal settlements in Nairobi so that these traders can grow their business. To be honest, competition is the best thing right now for this space. We want to see people bringing the best of payments innovations to our markets, to Kenya, East Africa more generally. And the reason is, and I always say this, and it's very true and is very believed within Mastercard, is our competition, to be honest, in this space is not other digital payment providers. It's not other networks that are providing payment technology, right? It is cash. It's cash. 85%, globally 85% of the world's transactions are cash-based. In Africa, closer to 95%. So I'm not worried about fighting over the 5% of share that's digital today. What I'm worried about is how do I bring the 95% of cash transactions onto digital payments? I mean, we do that not because for our own business, but because it's the right thing to do, right? You know, if you get a micro retailer paying and accepting digitally, they get access to formal financial services and they can grow their business. Credit, right? They get access to credit, they can grow their businesses. You know that if you get a farmer to get paid digitally for their outputs, they can leverage that same data then to get input credit so they can buy better seeds, better fertilizer, better pesticides and grow their farms, right? This is the reason that we really need to be digitizing payments because there's a lot of value to it for the end consumers. What they really want is they want speed and they want convenience, right? They have no time for kind of figuring out how to do this because this is the right way to do something. They're saying, look, I'm busy. I've got a lot of things going on. I'm doing 12 different activities. I've got my interests. I want to be living my life. I don't want to be standing in your banking hall trying to figure out how to do financial services, right? They want speed and convenience. And I think that's really interesting. I think we need to keep that in mind when we're doing all of our innovations. When we do our micro retail work in Kawangware, a lot of the traders that we work with are kind of in this 20 to 30 range, right? And what we find is that they're much more willing to adopt digital payments if it means that they can just do it quickly, they don't have to think about it. So for them, it's less around, well, you know, I like my cash. It's much around like, look, does this help me do my payments quickly? Can I get on with my business? Do I not have to think about it? Like that's what they want. And so that's a lot of what we do when we build these platforms is we think about kind of how do we make it as kind of quick and convenient as possible for that generation.